Hello and welcome. My name is Aoudi and this is a demo on SQL injection, and it is also a workshop that you will be doing later. First of all, I'd like to give credit to Mr. Tariq Naja, the OWASP chapter leader in Dubai, who gave me the resources for this demo. Okay, what you're looking at here are the three resources that we will need for this workshop. They will be provided to you, and they are an ISO image of a Linux machine, John the Ripper, which is a password cracking software, and a shell script that we will use to inject into the website later. I'm also using VMware Workstation, but alternatively you can use VirtualBox or any other virtualization software. Before I start, I have to mention, please make sure that you put this file, specifically the ISO file, somewhere where you don't move or change later, because the virtual machine that we're creating is a non-persistent machine. That means it will be a live machine reading from this ISO image, and every time we restart it, it will reset back to its original state. So let's go ahead and start. I'm going to create the virtual machine. I'm gonna say here typical, choose the ISO, browse to it. I have it here in my downloads, SQL injection. Okay, as you see, this detected it as a Debian 64. So let's call it SQL injection workshop. That's the name of the machine, and click next. We don't really need that much space. It's a very small machine, so let's put maximum 2 GB. We won't even need that, but anyway, it's gonna be a flexible size machine. I'm gonna use here a single file, better performance, and that's it. Okay, let's go ahead and power on this virtual machine. I will pause this. Okay, my machine is up and running. I cleared the screen just to show you what I will do next. Fconfig to get the IP address, Control Alt to get your mouse out of the virtual machine. By the way, that's the IP address, 192.168.226.129, and when you enter it here in your browser, you get your vulnerable web application that we will use in this demo. Okay, we don't need the web application for now. Let's go back to the virtual machine. Again, I cleared the screen just to show you what we will do. For now, we will do basics of SQL, MySQL management, and so on. Fundamentals that you would need before you do any attack. So let's go ahead and start a new MySQL or MySQL shell by typing MySQL with the U option for the user, and the user is root. But as you see, we are in the SQL shell, show databases, and always a semicolon. If you forget a semicolon, it will ask you to type it, so it will be incomplete. We have here these information schema, MySQL, and the photoblog databases. I will use the photoblog database, so type use photoblog, and let's forget actually it worked without the semicolon at this point, so that's good. It is using now this. If we say show tables, and and now it's waiting for the semicolon, so I will type it. So these are the tables in the Photoblog database. We have categories, pictures, and users. And within a table, if you wanna, for example, show columns from users, let's say, semicolon, and same thing, I use the up arrow, so from pictures. Okay, so this can be a bit confusing to students. So this is a table representing the properties of the table. So this is basically not the data. As you can see here, the fields are basically the column names in the actual table. So for example, I have a column called ID, title, IMG, and cat. Here I have 3 columns. Now, of course, if I want to use SQL at this point, SQL statements and commands, I would say something like select all from users. So now this is the actual data in the users. As you see, I have 3 columns: ID, login, and password, and only 1 record. That means 1 record of data. If I do the same for pictures, was it? Yeah, pictures. I have 4 fields or columns and 3 records of data. Okay, I highly recommend that you spend some time, even a lot of time here, trying to practice your SQL statements. This is the best place. You can't do any harm, and basically you need to be ready. You need to be good in these statements before you move on to the attacks, because when we start the attacks, we will be applying these SQL statements in a very not so friendly environment. For example, in forms where we have limited view, or even worse, in URLs. So please make sure that you practice before you continue what we will do next. Okay, so let's go back. I don't need this anymore. Clear this. Actually, we are still in SQL, so we're done with the virtual machine for now, but leave it up and running, please. So let's go ahead and go back here and see what we can do. All right, let's try to understand our web application so that we can attack it. So let's go ahead and click one of the links here. For example, I clicked here. You can click any link that you want. Notice here that I have cat.php with a query ID equal to. So what I want to do, I want to see if I can do stuff to this URL, if I can tamper it one way or another. So for example, what happens if I put here a %? So it's giving me an error. Sometimes errors are good because they tell you too much. What happened if instead of a 2 I put 3? Well, I didn't get an error, but it didn't give me a result. What happened if I do 1, for example? It's giving me something else. So this is a reference to something. Again, let's try 2 minus 1. Again, 2 minus 1 is equal to 1. So basically, I'm able to detect that I can do a little bit of tampering here using the URL parameters. It is very important to understand the logical workflow of our web application. If this is a data-driven web application, that means the content that I'm looking at here, the dynamic content, for example, the name of the picture and the picture itself, are coming from a database, right? And as you should know, database operations are very limited. So basically you can view data from the database using the select statement, you can insert using the insert statement, delete, update, and so on. So at this point, if we imagine the SQL statement behind the scenes, basically it's saying something like select something from the table name where I might have some kind of a condition. For example, here, the ID. Okay, so understanding that is going to be the first step. Before we can do something interesting here in tampering with the URL, I need to make sure that you understand the union statement. In SQL, the union, actually it's an operator. So the union operator allows you to combine the results of two or more SQL select statements. But there is a condition that the number of columns in statement 1 should be equal to the number of columns of statement 2. So let me go ahead and show you something. The best way to test it is here. So if I do MySQL and use photoblog, okay, select from users. So I have 3 columns, ID, login, password. And if I do the same but from pictures, I have 4 columns. So the union using all will not work. So for example, let me just do an up arrow. Select asterisk from picture union, select all from users will give you an error as you see in front of you, but you can pick and choose. So for example, here I can say select title from pictures, so 1 column only, and login from users. So I can see here that I have the results in 1 column, which is hacker, Ruby, so on and so forth. So the first 3 are from the pictures table and the admin is from the users table. So using the union operator, I can perhaps do something here in the URL. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to tamper with this URL, assuming again that this is going to be the outcome of the first select statement. So after 2, remember this is basically what happened when you click this link, so ID equal to, can I say union and then select something else from another table? Well, one way to test, because I really don't know the number of the columns. I don't know anything about my table, the columns, the field names. I have no information. So all I need to do is to test it. So if I say, for example, select 1. So select 1 meaning there's only 1 item, 1 column. So what will happen if I do this? Let's try. So look at that. That's the same error I saw in my SQL shell. So basically they have different number of columns. So it's not 1. My table here, wherever it is, does not have 1 column. It has more. So let's try comma 2. It also not working. What about 3? Also not working. What about 4? 4 worked. That means the table that I was getting the pictures from had 4 columns. So this is a new piece of information that I managed to get from my tampering of the URL right here. Of course, this is not enough. I need to do more. So with the union operator, we simply discovered the number of columns available in this unknown table. But in order to produce some output, we need to use our knowledge of SQL and SQL commands. For example, if I want to know the database version, there I can use the @@ version. If I need to know the current user, there is the current underscore user, and the current database is basically the database function. So I can use these somewhere in my second select statement. So in here, after the union, I have a select that pretty much does nothing, just to show me the number of columns. Now, if I use, for example, instead of number 1 here, if I use @@ version, okay, I didn't get any additional information, right? So basically, what's going on here? Not all columns of a database actually provide or echo an output. When a column can echo an output, it is called an echoed column. So I need to try this, the same thing, with a different column. So column 1 is not an echoed column. So I'm going to copy it and write back 1. Let me try to replace 2. So @@ version instead of 2. Now we see something, okay? So basically, I know that 2 is an echoed column. So let's try 3. So just again, we're gathering information. 3 gives me nothing. And if I go back here and try 4, 4 gives me nothing. So basically, only 2 is an echoed column. So I know now this is the column that I can use to echo some output. So let's try something else. Notice here, that is my database version right here. So instead of @@ version, I'm gonna go ahead and type something else, again using my knowledge of the database in general. So what if I type current underscore user, and it's a function. So pentester lab at localhost. What if I use, instead of current user, again it's a function, database. So function, so that's why I have the parentheses. The database is photoblog. Remember when we use here photoblog? So again, as an attacker, you don't have that information. So whatever you're discovering now is very valuable. Okay, at this point, we're ready to do something a lot more serious. So what I want to do, again, using my knowledge of databases, I will try to display all the table names that are available. So in here, again, we will use the same thing, the union statement, union operator with our own select statement. We will use column number 2 as the output column. So I will use table underscore name, but usually this is, so the table underscore name from my information underscore schema dot tables. Okay, so basically this has the schema or information about the database, and more specifically here I want the table names of all tables. So if you notice here, we have now a lot of information table names basically, and a lot of these tables are system tables. Not all of them are part of the application, but if you notice here, the last one, users, pictures, and categories, are actually the three tables that are created for the applications rather than system tables that are part of the database. So take a note of the users table. Okay, I can do something similar here, but instead of table name, I can use column name. Yeah, did I misspell it? Again, from information schema, but not the tables object, the columns object. If I hit enter here, I will see a lot more information. Okay, so basically I can see now again from each table in the schema in the database, I can see a list of column names. So again, notice here the things that we have seen already: title, img, cat, and the very interesting stuff to us, the login and password. And these are typically in the users table. Let us recap what we've done so far. So first of all, I tried to tamper with the URL and I was able to. I thought about it logically and I realized if this is a data-driven web application, that means there is a SQL behind the scenes. So basically I use the union operator and I try to do to guess the number of columns that are available in my original select statement that is displaying the photo in this photo blocks or the entries. And I discovered that I have 4 columns. This is the one that didn't give me an error. So again, if I try 5, for example, here, it will not work. It will be the same error again. And then I needed to discover which one of these columns is the column that echoes an output, and we discover it is 2. So I can replace this 2 with whatever output that I wanted to do. Then I started to display some real information about the database, including the version, the current user, the database itself, and also the most serious information that we retrieved, that there were the table names, including a table called users, and the column names, including columns called login and password. So if I try to, for example, say here login, so that's the name of the column, from users, always this at the end. So I can see here I have a one called admin. What if I try password? Well, that's it. I'll be able to see the password if this works. And yes, that is it. That is a hashed password. So I still need to crack it, but that's the password right here. If I want to display them both, let's say I have a big number of users and password, you might want to organize them better. So I can use the concat function. The concat is short for concatenation, which is a function that adds or glues two things together. So it's a function. I have the parentheses, and then the first thing I want to glue is login, and then the second thing I want to glue is password. If I do that, it looks like this: admin and then password. Just I can add space, so I can glue a third thing between them. So quote, space, quote, and another comma. So login glued to a space, glued to password. And this would give me, for example, here. If you don't want a space, you want something else, the pipe operator, there you go. That even looks better. Okay, so basically, we have the username and the password, and that's it, it's game over. But like I said, the password here is hashed, and if this is a weak password, I'll be able to crack it. Now remember again, if this is a very strong password, this is almost useless. That's why when we create web application, it's very important to have a strong password policy. So this is a SQL workshop, a SQL injection workshop. So I will let you use John the Ripper, the software that is available to this guy here, to crack the password. After you crack the password, basically you can come here and log in as an admin, and the password that you will crack, which is basically, I already did, so you will be able to log in. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, there you go. I have the admin here able to see the pictures and add new pictures, for example, and browse and get new files from your computer. Also, I mean, you can do even more damage, because instead of a picture that you can upload a script or a shell script like the one that we have here, shell.php3, which again, depending on your programming skills, you can do a lot of damage, including denial of service and access to more serious resources on the server. Okay, this is it. Thank you for watching.